So today we'll be starting to learn the basics of chess. So before we start, I would like to mention that there are many famous books written on this, how to plan, how to make strategy on chess, and a few to be mentioned is Kotov is one of the famous classical works that he has written. Think like a grandmaster. Also, Silman's book Reassess Your Chess is also another good example. So whatever I will be telling here is based on those books. If anyone is interested, can read those books in details. So let's start. So uh, Silman has quite rightly pointed out that mm whenever we talk of chess, we talk of plan. Without a proper plan, you cannot shine on chess. So planning is very important. So what is actually planning? So by definition, if we go, we can say planning is the process by which a player utilizes the advantages and minimizes the drawback of his position in order to promise success. Thus, planning is based on diagnosis of an existing characteristics of play. So, uh, Silman introduced this technique of imbalances in chess. So, if we break down the imbalances according to Silman, so his breakdown was like that: the superior minor piece, then pawn structure, space, material, controlling of a key file or square, load in development or more force in a specific area of a board, and intuition or intuitive means dictating the tempo of a game. So these may be figured out as 7 basics of imbalances. So one by one we'll start understanding what is this imbalances and uh, how we can use this to improve our game. Starting about Silman, let us first see the game that the GM played that has been posted. So let us see where the GM has gone wrong or how to analyze a game. So after you finish a game, it is mandatory that you see where you had made the mistake, so that the next time when you play, you are in a better position to know that which mistakes you may commit. So let us start the game. So the first move was e4 and black responded with c6. So this is a typical Caro-Kann. This opening is called Caro-Kann defense, and white played d4 and black responded with d5. So these are the standard variations. Now white can play in many ways. White can play e5, white can play knight c3, white can play e into d5, or white can play knight d2. So these are the main moves that white can play, and accordingly black can respond. So in this game, white played e5. So this is also called what? The advanced variation. Okay, the advanced variation of Caro-Kann defense. So now, what is the objective of black? The objective of black is to take out the light square bishop and place it in a suitable square. So accordingly, black played logically with bishop f5. Now, white responded with knight uh, f3. So there are many ways to play this position. Okay, so knight f3 is one of the very good move. Also h4 can be played, knight c3 can be played. So in the game, white played knight f3. Now black played h6. So this is not a good move, not considered a very good move, but one of the main purpose of this move is to protect the light square bishop. Clear? So there could have been e6 could have been played, but in that case there is a possibility that the light square bishop will get exchanged. So h6 is a another alternative move by which you protect your light square bishop. So you can get very good games from top players who play this position in this way. So now next, white played bishop e2. So white is playing a very logical way, developing his pieces. So in the opening we should remember that we should develop our pieces, as well as we will try to restrict opponents play, so and control the center. So these are the main purposes of the opening. So now black played the most logical move e6. So what is the purpose of this move? The purpose of this move is to free the dark square bishop, this bishop, and second is what? It also gives black the development, how to properly develop his pieces. Now uh, white played knight d2. So what is the purpose of this move, knight d2? So knight d2, what it does, it commits in, it plays this move knight d2. It has two purposes, many purposes. First is what? It allows white the flexibility to maneuver the knight from d2 to f1 to g3, or it can go to b3. So black played bishop b4, and this position has been reached by many 2600 players. This Hoi Fan Fedrosev game you will get, where black won. Then another GM 2600 GM also played this move. So these are quite logical or basic moves that can be played in this position. And white, what he does, he plays uh, c3. Now this move is okay, not bad, but he could have played a better way. There could have been better way of play. So he could have castled in this position, or he could have played something else. So castling is another way by which he could have developed his pieces, but he opted for c3. Now obviously the bishop is being attacked, so it has to move somewhere. Now where the bishop has to go? The bishop has only place to go is a5. So why we are choosing a5 to go? Because you see this long diagonal. If we go to c5 is already attacked by the pawn, so it cannot go to c5, it cannot go to d6, neither it can go to e7. Why? Because then the knight will be stuck there. So the only logical move is here, bishop a5. So c3 has been played and bishop moved to a5. So there is another way also we can play. So instead of moving the bishop to say b4, we could have played c5 also in this position. So that could have led to castle, then knight c6. So in that way the play would have continued. So let us see that line. So first let us see this line c3, then bishop a5. Now say what white will do. So white has many options to play here. Say white could have played castle here, because castling, you should always remember, as a beginner you should always remember that castling the king, safety of the king is utmost. But in this case a GM is playing, so it doesn't matter to them much whether they has castle or not, because they has huge knowledge of the game. So the GM played here bishop to b3. Okay, so bishop to b3 he played. So his idea was what? His idea is to attack this pawn. Which pawn? The b7 pawn. Now how to protect this pawn? So how we can protect this pawn now? There is no other way which we can protect this pawn on the move is, say we have to go to say c8 with our queen to protect the pawn. Otherwise this pawn is hanging. So he took this tempo of playing this. He has the luxury of, instead of castling first, he could have gone to b3. Why? Because this pawn is unprotected, b7 pawn is unprotected. So next he castled. So now his king is safe, but you see black is lacking in development. Still black has to develop his knight first, then he can castle. So he need two more moves to do that. And look at the GM, how he has developed the pieces very beautifully. Yeah, here all these pieces are being developed. So still only the dark square bishop, that is bishop on c1, is sitting. So another 2 moves maybe he will be able to clear his position. So next let us see what happened in the game. Then black has to develop his knight, so he placed his knight to e7, and white played h3. Now what is the move? Why this move h3? H3. So what it does means there is we cannot pin the knight sitting on f3. So next let us see what white played, black played. So black simply castled. Now black has also castled in this position. So nothing much we can tell from here. So simply development. Now let us see. Now white played rook to d1, and what else he could have played here? He could have played here rook to e1 also. So let rook to d1 he played, but rook to d1 is better than e1 because at some point he will be pushing his c5 c4 pawn. So in that case, to protect the c3 to c4, so that d4 pawn is protected. So next let us see what black played. So black has to develop his other knight, so he placed the other knight to d7. So now, as I was telling you, he will be rerouting his knight. So now this knight on sitting on d2 goes to f1 because it will go to g3. So now where black has to strike at the center, otherwise what will happen? Otherwise he will get a complete grip on the position. So black played c5. Now after playing c5, black went to a3. So his purpose was he is hitting that bishop that is not protected here. So a3. So just to protect that, and one more thing what he does, he is attacking that knight on e7 also. So you can't take it. So only way is to protect that piece. So black played bishop to b6. Now white plays bishop to e3. So the game is going on logically. Both sides are trying to plan something or the other. Now rook again. Now we should remember that while playing chess, one of the main motto is also to bring the rook to open or semi-open file. So that's why the idea rook to f2 e8. Next let us see rook to c1, rook a to c1. Same thing, I told you that if this the queen is sitting on c8, so white what he does, suppose if I exchange it, if the black means c5 pawn exchanges with the d4 pawn, then what happens? He can take it with his pawn and with a tempo, that means the queen has to move. Next bishop to h7, tucking the bishop away so that the knight cannot go to h4 and attack that bishop. So next let us see what happened. Now b4. So this idea is not very clear what he is trying to do. So maybe it is a not very good move. c4 could have been played. Why? Because now you could see black could close this file by pushing the pawn. So actually this is what was played in the game. Black completely closed this file. Now you see white is having a backward pawn. Here is having no good squares. He cannot open the file. So his queen side is totally closed. So now slowly white will has to replan something and do something. If you could see, and his dark square bishop is also now very bad because all the pawns this dark square bishop has no prospect for the time being. Why? Because you see the pawn is sitting on b4, then the c3, then d4, then e5. So this dark square piece is now almost out of play. So and the light square bishop also you can see that it has to sitting on e2, it is not doing much. Now again here it has to read out and do something. On the other hand, if you see black's position, it is a little bit better in this position. Why? Because you can see the knight can move to a better place. Say it can go to f5, it can go to g6. So next, so queen is doing nothing at game, so it will now plan in the king side, because queen side is closed. So white will plan to attack in the king side. Now queen to say c6. Now what is the idea? To connect the rooks, and let us see what happens in future. So somehow protecting this closing this option of a4 a5, so for the time being this has been stopped. So now let us see what he plays. So knight to g3. Now white will start attacking on the king side, and accordingly black has to protect his pieces, otherwise he will lose this game. So knight to f5, as I was telling you. Then knight cross knight, knight g3 cross, knight into f5, bishop into f5. So next, knight to h4. He's trying to, what he is trying, he's trying to just exchange this light square bishop. So bishop again goes to h7. So let us now queen to d2. So he's planning to attack on the king side, as I told you. So knight to f8. So let us proceed. So bishop into h6. Not a very good move. So g into h6, queen into h6, and before, this idea is not clear why d5 has been played. So queen into b5. Then now he's trying to launch an attack on the king side, because already the 3 pawns that protect the king has already, 2 of the pawns has gone. So now he will try to bring his rook and more of his pieces to attack the king. But actually it looks scary, but if you see thoroughly, you will understand that if you bring enough of your pieces quickly to this position, white cannot do much unless he rolls out his pawn. So next, bishop to d8, attacking the knight. So rook to e1. So here maybe he has missed this idea. Not missed, actually he thought he will gain a pawn another. So taking on f7, then bishop into, if we take here, say if we take bishop into h4, which has actually happened in the game. Now white will play what? White will play bishop into f7, check, king into f7, and queen into h4. So this is what happened in the game. Now black brings his queen back to protect his king. So now white is launching an attack on his king, and let us see what happens. Check, king goes to g8. Next, bringing another rook. So when you are attacking, remember one thing: when you attack, try to bring most of the pieces so that your attack is successful. Most of the novice players or players who start learning chess, they bring 1 or 2 pieces and they start attacking, but this is not the right way. Try to bring as many pieces as possible into the attack, so in that way your attack becomes more successful. So similarly now both are trying to attack and defend. So black has brought his another rook to f8. Now, so this is another trick. You see, he has placed his rook on f6. Now you cannot exchange it now at this moment. If you take it, pawn will come. So the e5 pawn will take on f6. So it is not a good idea to trade the rook now. So just protect the rook, place it on f7. Next, let us see what he does. So he challenges that rook. So now there is nothing we can do, no more pieces are there by which we can bring it on the queen side to protect our king. So now it's time to play on the queen side. Now queen side, if you can roll those pawns, if you can see, if you can somehow bring the pawns queen side, then the attack will not be successful for white, because you have a majority. You can roll the pawn, and in future if he is not careful enough, then what will happen is no pieces are there on the last rank. Say rook or queen is not there, or no, other pieces are not there. So there is every possibility one of our piece will become a queen. So he just, this is another prophylactic move the GM normally plays. So king to h2 is played in this position, and black continues with his plan and plays b4. Now this position is really looking worse for white. So he is trying to attack on king side, and black is trying to play on queen side. So h4. Now what he is doing is he will try to bring the h4 h5 and try to keep the knight out of that place. So that's his idea. So black will continue and play b3 and into b3. Next we have a passer here. So a4, a5, h4, h5, and knight to f8. Now the queen has to come back, otherwise what will happen, this pawn will become passer. So now white cannot do much, so he tries one last resort, that is h6 is played, and now you have to take here, otherwise rook cross, let's say rook into f6 has to be done. So next rook into f6 and rook to g6, challenging the rook. So rook goes to f3 and queen to e7, and next move queen will go to h4 check, and will try to or attack the pawn. Now the h6 pawn is falling also, and white resigned. So you see that GMs also do mistake. So here what happens is black has done nothing but only played the logical move, and white in pursuit of attack, because his position has been totally cramped, so in pursuit of attack what he has done, he has given one piece and he could not regain that piece. So now I hope all of you have understood how to play against a GM. Thank you.